We are opening our cookbook collection at the Lakeshore Museum Center and asking our staff the question, can you recreate this recipe from 1890? We selected the Muskegon Cookbook of Tested Recipes, compiled by the Ladies' Society of the First Baptist Church during the late 19th century. It contains recipes submitted by prominent Muskegon women. The challenge is that these recipes list ingredients and not much more. The competing bakers have been given their instructions, and it is up to them to figure out how it will look and, more importantly, taste. Ready, get set, bake.
A historic recipe. So the recipe that she gave us is from Mrs. Charles Hackley, and it's called feather cake. And these are all the ingredients, and this is the whole recipe. There's nothing else missing.
1 cup of sugar. It's 1 cup of flour. It's 1 egg. And it's 1 tablespoon of melted butter.
1 cup of sweet milk, which I'm not exactly sure what that means. I think it probably just means regular milk.
I still don't know what sweet milk is. So that'll be an adventure. And then it's flavor to taste. And then the only direction it gives is to sift the baking powder.
So that's it. It doesn't tell you what flavor to use. It doesn't tell you how hot your oven should be.
And that's it. That's the only direction.
So we're gonna figure it out, I guess.
Okay, so the mixer started working again. Whenever you're doing something for like taping, it never works quite right. So we're gonna go ahead and cream at a low speed.
So because this cake is called a feather cake, I have the whisk attachment on my KitchenAid because I'm going to whisk the egg first. Because since it's called a feather cake, I'm assuming that it's supposed to be really light and airy. And one of the ways you can help your baked goods be really light and airy is by whipping up egg whites or whipping up the whole egg, because that will incorporate air and make the cake a lot fluffier.
All right, so some cakes that I've made in the past, I've had you alternate the flour and the milk, and even though it's only like 1 cup and a third, I think I'll do that. So I think I'm gonna do my flour in 3 additions and my milk in 2. So here's my first flour addition. I'm just gonna shake that in.
So I added in the butter and I added in the cup of sugar, so you can see that it's whipped up, it's really nice and thick and fluffy. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my sifter and I am going to sift in the flour, the cream of tartar, and the baking soda and salt.
Add my last of my flour.
So because I'm trying not to knock out any of that air, I'm going to use a wooden spoon to just fold the flour into the beaten egg white and the sugar and the butter.
This seems fairly stiff, but I haven't added in my flavor yet. So like I said, I was gonna use the bourbon. And also, like I said, Mrs. Hackley probably would not have picked that. My guess is it was probably vanilla, almond flavor maybe. Maybe also, I don't even know what else she might. Rose water, maybe? Orange blossom water.
So last, what I'm going to do before I finish mixing is I'm going to add in a capful of the rose water, and I'm also going to add in the milk.
Maybe 1.5 teaspoons of this. The idea is you treat it like vanilla, so that's what we're going to do. It's just a flavor. All right. So, like I said, I'm thinking a teaspoon and a scoosh. All right. So there we go. All right, so the other thing that Mrs. Hackley doesn't really specify is she doesn't really specify a cake pan size, and it's not a lot of batter. So I have, I think, 9-inch pans, and I have a couple smaller ones.
So this doesn't look like a lot of batter to me, so I'm going to use the smallest cake tin that I have. I actually think maybe the feather cake was meant to be individual little tea cakes, but we're just gonna go with a regular size cake. I also realized that a non-stick cake pan probably wouldn't have been used as much maybe around the time that Mrs. Charles Hackley was around, but you know, I think if she had one, she would use it. Okay, so the recipe didn't give us an oven temperature, but I actually bake quite a lot. So knowing what a normal, I do bake, so knowing what a normal cake would usually be baked under, it's usually around 350, 375.
Okay, so I got all my ingredients together, I think, and I am going to go ahead and preheat my oven to about 350. It doesn't say how hot to keep your oven, but I feel like 350 is a pretty standard temperature. So
I'm going to set our oven to 350, and then I'll just plan on watching the cake as it bakes.
all right, everybody, I'm back. So it has been around, I think, 30 minutes, 35 minutes, and I was right. The 15 minutes wasn't the accurate time. I didn't think it was gonna be, so that's okay. It probably took the extra 10 minutes, a little more than that, maybe closer to 14 minutes, but I might have been a little aggressive with testing the cake to see if it was done, and it was nice and domed, and then I kind of like patted it because it was a little too jiggly to see if it was solid, and look what happened. The middle fell in, so we're definitely straying more from the Great British Bake Off territory into the nailed it territory, but on the plus side, after cleaning up my kitchen, I did find my cute little covered cake stand, and I thought this one was going to be too small, but it's actually around 7 inches, and so I think this is going to work. So even though it's collapsed, I have a great serving dish. So maybe that will help me trump Gwen's cake. I don't want to wish her wrong or just her cake not working, but at this point, I kind of want her cake to not work all the way. So yeah, so I think it's gonna fit. This is exciting. I have to think about if I want to put a topping on my cake or just powdered sugar, maybe some pecans around it. But at any rate, I'm gonna let it cool on the oven for about 10 minutes, and then I'm gonna flip it out and put it onto a cooling rack to cool out the rest of the way. And then once it's totally cool, I will go ahead and stick it in my cake stand. And then tomorrow morning, I will go ahead and see what I want to do to decorate.
She's little, but she looks like she rose a bit, so that's a good sign.
To all of those bakers out there, hopefully this will inspire you to try some historic recipes, or to maybe try Mrs. Hackley's feather cake recipe and see if you are more successful at it than I have been. So, good night, everybody.
Are you ready to try the Mrs. Charles Hackley feather cake?
Mm-hmm.
What do you think of the look and texture, first of all?
Looks good.
Okay, how do you feel about it?
Very bread-like.
Okay.
texture compared to a cake texture.
Uh-huh.
How does it taste?
It's chewy.
Is it?
All right. How did you guys feel about the cake?
Tastes fruity.
It's yummy.
Yeah? Does it have a nice texture or does it feel like heavy or what does it feel like?
It has a nice texture.
Like cake chewy? Or like brownie chewy?
Like gum chewy.
Trying to figure out the flavors. Kind of yeasty,
Okay.
right?
There's no yeast in it.
Okay.
There's bourbon and brown sugar in it.
Kind of tastes like bread. I'm getting a lot of bread.
So it's not like what a light flaky feeling you feel like when you hear the
There's
word
no-
feather cake.
There's no feather to this cake.
Do you think Mom's cake should win over Miss Gwen's cake?
Yeah.
Yeah?
I gotta try them, so.
What if Miss Gwen's cake is better?
I know, that's why I said I gotta try it.
Oh. All right, can you guys say goodbye to all of our Facebook fans?
Sure.
Bye.
Bye.